quiet school morning turned into shouting, smoke, and fear. When the crowd reached the library doors, what stopped everything cold? The bell rang at 8:10 a.m., sharp and loud, and the yard filled with quick steps and low talk. The air smelled of wet grass and dust. Sister Maria counted 32 heads as the line moved. A wind pushed paper along the wall. Then a shout rose from the street, close and hard. Metal clanged. The gate banged once. A banner flashed past the window, white cloth with dark words, shaking. Someone yelled about books. Someone yelled about fire. The smell changed, sharp like burned plastic. A boy dropped his pencil. It rolled 6 inches and stopped. Sister Maria lifted her hand and whispered for quiet. Feet pounded outside. The noise grew thick, like rain on tin. She moved the class to the back, slow steps, shoes soft. She locked the door. Her fingers shook. Down the hall sat the library. 3 doors away, shelves 10 feet high, old Bibles bound in red and brown. A teacher ran past, face pale, breath short. The power cut. Lights died. The hall went gray. A stone hit a window and cracked it like ice. Glass sang but held. Children held hands. Voices outside argued, fast then slow. A man in a blue shirt stepped forward, hands up. He spoke calm words. Another man shook his head. The crowd pressed close to the fence but did not cross. Sirens wailed far off, thin and weak. The gate creaked open a foot, then stopped. The blue shirt man stood between the gate and the crowd. He pointed at the school sign, paint peeling, letters old. He spoke of kids, of rules, of peace. A woman cried. A boy kicked a can. It rolled to the curb and tipped. Smoke drifted from far down the block. Not here, not yet. A phone rang inside the hall, sharp and alone. Sirens grew louder. The crowd's noise dropped, like a breath held too long. Blue lights washed the walls as officers arrived. They stepped out slow and firm. The blue shirt man nodded. The gate closed. The crowd pulled back inch by inch. Children breathed again. On the ground lay a small book, cover bent but not burned. An officer picked it up, brushed it clean, and held it high. Silence spread. Sister Maria prayed without sound. The bell rang again, softer. The yard stood still. Had the danger passed? Or was it only waiting? At noon, the sun stood straight above, hot and white. The yard smelled of heat and dust. Parents gathered at the fence, faces tight, hands gripping bags. News vans lined the street, 10 feet apart. Cameras blinked. Words flew like sparks. The blue shirt man spoke again, louder now, clear as a bell. He said there would be no fire here. He said the law would stand. He said kids would go home safe. Some in the crowd turned away. Some stayed, watching. Sister Maria opened the door a crack and looked out. The hall was still. The library stood untouched. Children left in groups of 5, hands held tight. A bus hissed and rolled away. Sirens faded. The officer set the small book on the wall. Its pages fluttered once in the wind. By late afternoon, the crowd thinned. The gate stayed shut. The blue shirt man spoke with officers, heads close. The sun slid down. Shadows grew long. When the cameras left, the street felt wide and quiet. Was quiet enough? The next morning, fresh paint shone on the gate. A new sign hung straight. Flowers sat by the wall, white and yellow. The bell rang at 8:10 a.m. again. The air smelled of paint and bread from a nearby shop. The blue shirt man returned, this time with others. They brought water bottles, not signs. They asked to talk. Sister Maria listened. Words were careful. Apologies came slow but real. The library door stayed closed during the talk. The clock ticked. Chairs scraped. When the door opened, light fell on the shelves. No smoke. No us. Only books. A child touched a spine and smiled. Outside, a few neighbors watched from across the street. A woman nodded. A man folded his arms, then dropped them. The blue shirt man said fear had grown too fast. He said it should not have. Sister Maria thanked him for standing at the gate. Hands met, firm and brief. By week's end, a meeting filled the hall. 40 chairs stood in rows. Kids drew pictures on the floor, bright suns and houses. Leaders spoke of rules and respect. The blue shirt man stood and said sorry for fear caused. Parents asked hard questions. Answers came slow. Outside, the street stayed calm. The bell rang. Class began. Months later, the fence held new scratches, thin lines like writing. The school still stood. The library smelled of paper and glue. The small book sat on a shelf with a new cover. Sister Maria touched it once before class. She remembered the noise, the pause, the choice that stopped fire. In a world quick to burn, who will step forward next time to keep it from lighting? Rain fell at dawn, soft at first, then steady. It tapped the roof and ran in thin lines down the windows. The yard smelled clean. Sister Maria unlocked the gate at 7:40 a.m. and pushed it wide. The fence stood firm. The new paint shone even in gray light. Across the street, a few people watched, hands in pockets. No signs. No shouts. Just eyes. Inside, the hall lights hummed. The library door stood open. Shelves rose 10 feet, neat and full. A table sat in the center with 4 chairs. On the table lay papers and a pen. At 8:30, leaders arrived from both sides. Shoes scraped. Chairs moved. The clock ticked loud. A cup of water tipped and spilled, spreading a dark shape across the table. Someone wiped it up with a sleeve. Words came slow. Each word felt heavy, like a stone placed with care. They spoke of fear and how it grows. They spoke of rumors and how fast they run. They spoke of kids who should not be used as signs. Outside, rain eased. Sun broke through in thin lines. Light touched the spines of books. A mother stood. Her voice shook at first, then grew steady. She spoke of her son who cried that night and would not sleep. A man answered, eyes down, saying he was sorry. He said anger had pushed him. He said he should have stopped sooner. Silence followed, long and clean. A child laughed in the hall, a bright sound that cut the air. The small book with the new cover sat on a shelf at eye level. A child reached for it, then stopped and asked. Sister Maria nodded. The child held it with 2 hands. The pages smelled of glue and paper. The child read one line, then another. A smile came and stayed. By midday the rain was gone. The street filled with normal sounds. A cart rolling, a horn far away, birds on wires. News vans did not return. Cameras stayed dark. A chalkboard outside listed a plan. Shared talks, open doors, clear rules. Names were signed at the bottom one by one, slow and sure. In the afternoon, a group walked the block together. They measured the fence, 8 feet high. They counted steps from gate to door, 34. They checked lights and locks. They laughed once, then stopped, surprised by it. The blue shirt man stood back and watched kids play tag. He clapped when a girl won. At sunset, candles were set on the wall, small and safe, in glass. No fire touched the school. People stood quiet. The flames stayed still. Faces softened. When the last candle went out, the wall was warm to the touch. Sister Maria locked the gate and breathed deep. Trust had not returned all at once, but it had taken a step. Would that step hold when the next hard day came? A season passed. Heat came, then left. Leaves fell and were swept. The fence kept its shine. The sign stayed straight. Each morning, the bell rang at 8:10 a.m. and kids ran in, fast and loud. The library filled with whispers and turning pages. The small book stayed on its shelf, used and loved. One day, a class visited the hall to talk about respect. They sat in a circle, knees touching. A boy asked why people get mad over words. A girl said words can hurt. Sister Maria said words can also heal. She asked them to listen first. They did. The room felt wide. Later, a shared meal filled the yard. Long tables stood in lines, 6 feet apart. Bread broke clean. Water cups clinked. Stories flowed. A man told of a fear he learned as a child. A woman told of a hope she held for her daughter. Kids chased bubbles that popped in the sun. Laughter rose and fell. Rules were posted by the gate, clear and plain. No srets. No fire. No chat. Talk first. Listen longer. Act last. People read them as they passed. Some nodded. Some paused. All entered calm. On an afternoon like any other, a shout rose down the block. Heads turned. Feet stopped. A truck had stalled. Men pushed. The engine coughed and started. The shout turned into cheers. Life moved on. Sister Maria watched the moment pass. She felt her heart slow. At a year's end meeting, chairs filled the hall again. Reports were read. Numbers were shared. Fences held. Doors opened. Trust grew by inches, not miles. The blue shirt man spoke once more. He said standing at the gate had changed him. He said choosing calm had cost him pride, but saved him sleep. Applause came, soft and real. When summer returned, paint was touched up again. The wall held no scorch marks. The library held more books. The small book had notes tucked inside from kids, kind words and thanks. Sister Maria smiled and placed them back. As the sun set on another school day, the bell's echo faded. The street stayed quiet. The gate stood open for a moment, then closed for the night. In a world where anger can rush fast, this place learned to pause. If fear rises again, will more people choose to stand at the gate and say no?